The Pittsburgh Pirates finish up a two-game set against the Detroit Tigers, winning on Wednesday and losing on Tuesday. We're going to talk about a lot of the loss. We're going to talk about the win, and we're going to talk about what I liked and what I didn't like from this series. All of that and more on today's episode of Locked On Pirates, brought to you by So Rare and Bird Dogs.
You are Locked On Pirates, your daily Pittsburgh Pirates podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And welcome back to the Locked On Pirates podcast, everybody. My name is Ethan Smith, your host of the Locked On Pirates podcast here on the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team, your Pittsburgh Pirates every day. And Wednesday was a lot more fun than Tuesday, folks, as the Pittsburgh Pirates were winners over the Detroit Tigers 8-0 to get a split of the annual two-game set in the Motor City of Detroit. And man, the Pirates needed that. They needed that, and they needed that bad. We'll start with the win on today's show. And it was nice to see this Pirates team finally do something that has plagued them throughout the entire month of May, which is getting hits and scoring runs. That was something the Pirates did an abundance of today, scoring 8 runs with 14 hits. No defensive errors today. A combined one hitter from Rich Hill, Robert Stevenson, Dowry Beretta would finish things off. Jose Hernandez had a good outing. Just an overall great game from this Pittsburgh Pirates team they desperately needed. And you just looked at how they were in this game. Of course, 17 runners were in scoring position in this game for the Pittsburgh Pirates, and they went 6 for 17 in that department, a number that is a lot better than what we've seen from this Pittsburgh Pirates team over the past couple of weeks. And this was also the most runs they've scored in the month of May, of course. The last time that they scored more than 4 runs in a game was a part of that doubleheader against the Washington Nationals on April 29th. So it has been 14 games since the Pittsburgh Pirates have scored this many runs and had this many hits. Of course, you look up and down the box score. Austin Hedges has a double. Brian Reynolds has a double. Carlos Santana has a double. You get home run from Rodolfo Castro. Of course, RBIs from Castro, Hedges, Connor Joe, McCutchen, and Santana. You get two-out RBIs from Austin Hedges and Andrew McCutchen. Just an overall good day. I mean, it's also a very good day, too, when Austin Hedges has 2 hits in 4 at-bats along with 3 RBIs. Just an overall good game for this team that they really needed. And then what I said on Twitter that I felt got clouded from this was Rich Hill and the performance that he had. The only hit given up in the entire game was from the leadoff spot, as Rich Hill tried to kind of stop the ball with his glove. He just sadly missed it. And then the Pittsburgh Pirates take advantage and get out of the first inning without giving up a run after not scoring in the first inning. And then you follow that up with just a masterclass from Rich Hill. And the starting pitching, as I've mentioned throughout this losing stint, has been mostly okay. Rich Hill has been fine. Mitch Keller has been a Cy Young candidate type of pitcher right now. You're looking at Johan Oviedo, who's trying to take that next step forward. Luis Ortiz, who we'll talk about in the second segment, is talking about the loss yesterday, has kind of struggled as well in his first 2 starts. But the bullpen has still been a top bullpen in all of baseball right now, especially when they're needed most. And they didn't necessarily need them too much today with the offensive output, but the Pirates have not had this kind of offensive output in quite some time. And I think the biggest question that we come out of this game with and this series with, ultimately after these 2 games, is this something that the Pirates can start doing consistently again? Because we've seen them have those offensive outbursts like they did against Colorado when they won 4-0. We've seen them have a beautiful offensive output today where 5 players have multiple hits in the lineup and they win 8-0. We've seen it, but we haven't seen it in the consistency that we were seeing it in the month of April, which is something that I think Andrew McCutchen is going to help with. I think Brian Reynolds, who had a strong day, went 3 for 5 and scored 2 runs today. Carlos Santana was another guy in the middle of the lineup that did really good things. Ke'Bryan Hayes has also been kind of picking things up lately. He was 0 for 5 today with one strikeout, but he's been picking things up as of late also. You're then looking at Connor Joe, who's just been a steady, really good player in this lineup for the Pittsburgh Pirates. And Rodolfo Castro, who's kind of seen a downtick in his playing time as of late, comes into the lineup today with 2 hits, 2 RBIs, and a home run, of course. Ji-Hwan Bae in the lower part of the lineup contributed. Everybody pretty much contributed today in this game except Ke'Bryan Hayes and Tucupita Marcano, who were the only 2 players in the lineup to be, or Marcano was a pinch hitter, but the only 2 players to not have a hit. And Miguel Andujar was another one that appeared in this game, although that Marcano and Andujar did not get at-bats. So, ultimately, when you're looking at what the Pirates did right in this game, obviously the offense was there. You guys heard me mention already the runners in scoring position has been a major issue for this Pittsburgh Pirates team, and they took care of that today with 6 base hits with runners in scoring position. That is what I want to see more of. I want to see more of that. I want to see getting runners in scoring position and plus counts and making it count for you, getting back to that winning formula that I've been talking about with this team. Play small. The home run balls are nice occasionally from Carlos Santana, Jack Sawinski, Andrew McCutchen, the guys that are hitting home runs on this team, but not all the time do you need these home runs. Sometimes small ball is going to win you baseball games, and that's what happened today as part of that big 7th inning where they scored 4 runs. So the Pittsburgh Pirates today did a lot of good things right. The pitching was there like it has been for quite some time. The hitting finally woke up. It woke up from its slumber after the great month of April that they had. It finally woke up in May, and it looked like the Pittsburgh Pirates were just a completely different baseball team today than they have been over the past couple of weeks. Then you look at just how they stifled the Detroit offense in this game, and the defense improved mightily. But we're going to talk a little bit about yesterday's game, on the Tuesday game. We're going to talk about Luis Ortiz's start and how he got rattled up a bit and why the offense was struggling yesterday, and kind of getting to the middle point of where what we saw today can become something in the middle of what we saw yesterday and today to create a good, even, quality baseball team that we were accustomed to seeing in the month of April. But before we get into that, you guys already know that we love So Rare here on the Locked On MLB, or Locked On MLB Podcast Network here at Locked On Pirates. And of course, you can collect, play, and win officially licensed digital cards at sorare.com/lockedon. So Rare is a revolutionary fantasy baseball game and marketplace transforming fans into owners with officially licensed digital cards featuring players from across all 30 MLB teams. Unlike other fantasy baseball platforms, So Rare managers truly own their fantasy experience, collecting, buying, selling, and competing with player cards against global opponents to win epic rewards. Win or lose, you still own your cards and there's no cost to play. Plus, the more you win, the more you advance, collecting increasingly powerful cards and accessing next-level competition and rewards. MLB game weeks happen twice weekly and span a 3 to 4 day cycle. At the end of game week, So Rare MLB managers who rank at or near the top of their leaderboards win a variety of rewards, which can include So Rare scarcity cards, game tickets, merchandise, signed jerseys, and VIP experiences like meeting MLB stars. Head to sorare.com/lockedon to draft your team of free player cards, set your lineup, and start competing today to win epic rewards. Again, that's sorare.com/lockedon to start playing today. So the Pittsburgh Pirates get the W today. They sit at 23-20. The Arizona Diamondbacks are on the way. On tomorrow's show, we're going to be talking with Craig Toth, of course, our prospects expert that we have on every single Thursday. We're actually going to make tomorrow a fully prospect show, and that's probably going to be something that you guys are going to get on your airways for quite some time, with the Pirates being off on a lot of Thursdays and me not wanting to preview the upcoming series until the day of on Friday. So that's what we'll be doing on Friday this week, as well as you'll get that Arizona Diamondbacks series preview on Friday. And then, of course, on Monday, we'll get Gary Morgan back on the show. Let's talk about Luis Ortiz for a second. And Luis Ortiz was a guy, myself included, that a lot of people were very high on, wanted to see good things from, wanted to see him in the rotation, and see what he had going for him. Through 2 games, we have not seen that from Luis Ortiz. Of course, in the first game, only had one strikeout. In the second game, of course, what we saw yesterday, he ups the strikeout number, but then the walks came back. He had 4 walks and 3 strikeouts in the outing that he had yesterday. 3 innings pitched, 7 hits, 3 earned runs, 4 runs total. Of course, he had that error that I talked about, limiting errors in yesterday's show. He had the error on the pickoff that would lead to yet another run. Then Johan Ramirez and Dwayne Underwood Jr. came in and did fine in their couple innings of work. But Luis Ortiz, we all know he has the fastball. The fastball is always going to be a plus pitch for him. It has tons of movement, tons of velocity. He can throw it right past guys when he gets in plus counts. Go back and watch that game, or even just watch Luis Ortiz pitch in this game. The first thing you can notice is his body language as he was giving up hits. He was just getting rattled. He gave up 2 runs in the first inning, and he just never came back from it. He gave up 2 runs in the third inning, which would be his final inning of work. He was up in the 70s in pitches through 3 innings, which is something we are just not accustomed to with this Pirates starting pitching staff. And he was just getting in counts that just were not fruitful for what Luis Ortiz does. Luis Ortiz is a guy that does, as most pitchers, who does really well in counts that obviously are pitchers' counts. 0-1, 0-2, 1-2, even 2-2 is a count that some pitchers really like. And I still think Luis Ortiz has a lot to learn from his breaking pitch. I just genuinely do. I think the breaking pitch still needs work. I think it's something that the Pittsburgh Pirates, when Vince Velasquez is ready to come back, they're probably going to send Ortiz down now. I remember yesterday I mentioned if he would have had a good stint here, you would have saw a lot more questions arise about the starting rotation. But with this performance that we saw from Luis Ortiz yesterday, I don't think he's going to stay in the rotation for too long. I think he still has some things to work on in terms of his breaking pitches. I think he still needs to work on his command a little bit. He was kind of wild yesterday. You look at the amount of pitches that he threw in this game, 81 pitches for Luis Ortiz, only 44 strikes out of his 81 pitches. That just is something that has to be fixed if you want to be a major league starting pitcher. And is Luis Ortiz capable of fixing it? Of course Luis Ortiz is capable of fixing it. He's Luis Ortiz. He's a top 100 prospect for a reason. And if anything, as Pirates fans, one thing we can look at, especially being patient with these starting pitchers, is look at what Mitch Keller has turned into. MLB.com has him right now in their Cy Young Watch rankings right now. And he's 27. Luis Ortiz is just now turning 24. He's 24 years old. On his career in 24 innings pitched so far, 4.88 ERA with a 1.54 whip and 21 strikeouts. Of course, he has a 5.63 this year because he's not looked anything like he did last year when we saw him. But in 8 innings of work, are you really going to judge Luis Ortiz just off of 8 innings of work in a season where he wasn't even starting in the starting rotation to begin the year? Probably not. We need a much bigger sample size. We need him to probably go back down to Indianapolis to shore some things up with the breaking pitch, to shore things up with his command and getting in those plus counts, and then bring him back up once you decide, okay, well, Rich Hill and Vince Velasquez, what are we going to do here? But if Vince Velasquez comes back and continues to pitch the way he was before the injury, it's going to be really hard to bring up some guys unless they move off of Rich Hill, which I fully expect they'll do at the deadline. But even then, I mean, you're looking at a rotation of Keller, Contreras, Oviedo, and Velasquez. So I guess Ortiz fits in at the 5 spot, but there's also going to be guys like Osvaldo Bido, Caleb Smith, Quinn Priester that are going to be knocking on the door. And if Luis Ortiz continues to struggle up here, that's going to be the biggest issue with trying to get him up here and staying up here is can he find consistent command to where he can get in plus counts for himself. That is what you want to see from Luis Ortiz. Again, it's one of those scenarios where we know that the stuff is there. He just has to find it in his right to do it consistently. And it's something that Luis Ortiz is able to do. I know that he can do it. We've seen him do it at AAA. Now, of course, AAA is a much different animal than what we're accustomed to at the major league level, especially for starting pitching. But he's going to figure it out because he's still young. He propelled through the rankings last year to where half the people that are Pirates fans probably didn't even really know who Luis Ortiz was until near the end of last year when he was making those starts, the 5 starts he made in 2022. But you also go back and look at this game, and albeit today, we talked about the win in the first segment, albeit today, they did a lot of good things. Yesterday's game just looked like the same team that we'd seen for the last 2 weeks, with 5 hits, no runs, 1 error. And all the hits, of course, were coming from the bottom part of the lineup. You look at Ke'Bryan Hayes, Tucupita Marcano, and Jason DeLay having 3 of the team's 5 hits, the other 2 coming from McCutchen and Santana in the top of the order. But Reynolds was 0 for 4. Sawinski was 0 for 4. Ji-Hwan Bae was 0 for 2. Of course, he got on base with a walk. Palacios was 0 for 3. It's just one of those things that the Pirates, again, looking at both of these games, if you just combine both of these games, the Pirates would have won 8-4 over 18 innings. Fine and dandy. You come out of this off of the road, you get the split that you wanted. That I said, remember I said on Tuesday's show, I said the most likely things were a series split, a Pirate sweep, or the Pirates get swept. Of course, the most consistent thing happened. It just didn't happen in the order that I thought it would. The biggest concern that I had with yesterday's game is Michael Lorenzen is not the most crazy pitcher in the world by any means. But then they came out and destroyed Eduardo Rodriguez for the most part, who has one of the best ERAs in all of the American League and is pitching as good as anybody in the American League. So, just under the microscope of what you're going to see from this Pirates team this weekend, which we'll cover a lot more on Friday's show, you're going to see Zach Gallen. He's been pitching arguably better than Mitch Keller. You're going to see 2 other guys that are not doing that bad, including a prospect. The Pirates have to show consistency in scoring runs if they want to be a good baseball team. They're still above 500 right now. They're 23-20. They're still right in the thick of things in the NL Central after this result right now. They're about a game and a half back of Milwaukee, and they still have a pretty comfortable lead on the Chicago Cubs, the Reds, and the Cardinals, who have been playing much better baseball lately, who sit 7.5 games back of Milwaukee. But the Pirates, if they want to be a contending team, if they want to be a competitive team, it's nice to have these offensive outbursts every once in a while and score 8 or 9 or 10 or 11 runs. But at some point, you have to start consistently putting up runs. I mean, again, we've went through the May schedule this year already. But starting with the Tampa Bay game, 1 run, 2 runs, 0 runs, 2 runs, 1 run, 2 runs, 1 run, 3 runs, 3, 0, 4, 0, 8. The Pirates scored as many runs today as they scored in the first, I believe, 7 games of this month. Yeah, because they scored 4 total against Tampa Bay. They scored 6 against Toronto in the second, make 6 against Toronto. 7, yeah, so in the first 6 games of the month, the Pirates had 7 runs. Today alone, they had 8. That is just, I mean, you have to look at this Arizona series under a microscope, and even the Texas series. Look at every series right now for this team, and you have to put it under a certain microscope and say, cool, 8 runs is awesome, but how about do 4 runs in 2 games to win a game with the way your starting pitching looks right now? Or do this on a more consistent basis because you're capable of doing it. I mean, you go back and look at the month of April. I mean, you had a 13-9 win against the White Sox. You had a 14-3 win twice against the Colorado Rockies. You had that big blowout win against the Washington Nationals. And even in a loss to the LA Dodgers, you had 7 runs in an 8-7 loss. And then you had 8 runs the following day and 6 runs after that to win that series. The Pirates are a fully capable team of having a good offense. What these 2 games showed me is just that they need to do it on a consistent basis. And for some players, it might be helpful with that moving forward. That's what we're going to talk about in our final segment today. But I've been talking to you guys. I've been talking to you about a really, really, really cool sponsor, and it's Bird Dogs. Bird Dogs, of course, is our new sponsor. I love Bird Dogs. They've already sent me a cool pair of shorts. They already sent me a tumbler. They sent me all kinds of really cool stuff. And Bird Dogs, of course, you already know that they gave us something to give to you guys. They already gave us a promo code because it's Bird Dogs. Use code LOCKEDONMLB for a free tumbler with every purchase that you make with Bird Dogs at birddogs.com/LockedOnMLB. Of course, you have fit. I look better and I feel great wearing Bird Dogs. Their stretchy fabric makes my legs look great, and they're comfier than other shorts and pants, and they give me the freedom to wear one pair of shorts and pants on the golf course to a meeting, a date, or hanging out with friends. By the way, I mean, dude, I'll even stand up for you guys and show you these. You get to see my Iron City beer shirt, but look at these things, man. They're freaking awesome, and they're very comfortable. They have a built-in liner. You know, they have awesome names that you can look up, of course, and, you know, successful Bert Kreischer wakes up at his lake house wearing Bird Dogs, goes for a swim, smokes a cigar, grills burgers, and chills with his family, all in the shorts he associates with the summer. Dave Portnoy does pizza reviews wearing Bird Dogs and talks about how he hates the pizza, but his legs look great in Bird Dogs. College football nerds say they are the perfect pants for dads that have a little extra gut. Bird Dogs make them look great and feel comfortable. And of course, go to birddogs.com/LockedOnMLB, and when you enter promo code LockedOnMLB, they'll throw in a free custom Bird Dogs Yeti-style tumbler with every single order. And it's getting hot outside, folks, so go get yourselves some very nice shorts to wear with a built-in liner at birddogs.com. So, one of the other things that I noticed about today's game that was very interesting is a lot of the veteran leadership for the Pittsburgh Pirates was a big reason why they were able to win this game, which is fine. I have no issue with that. I think that's why they were brought in. I think that's what the Pittsburgh Pirates brought them in for. Rodolfo Castro had a phenomenal game today, and he's been a guy that has not been in the lineup a lot. We've really only seen him against lefties. I want to see him more. That power is undeniable. They're working with him on something from the other side that I think is going to work really well for him. But I would plug him at second base all day of the week. I really would. I would put him at second base every single day of the week. I would let him just hit against these teams. I mean, you're already putting lefties in lineups against lefties anyway, so you might as well stick Castro in there against righties. It's a spot that he's not that great in just yet, but he's only 23. He has to get there at some point, but that undeniable power is something that I think is going to help this offense for quite some time, especially if they let Castro play more often. Jack Sawinski as well. He's been struggling as of late, but he's another young guy that we need to step up for this Pittsburgh Pirates team to have some success. Why? The undeniable power. He could change a game for the Pittsburgh Pirates at the snap of a finger. And again, it's nice to have Andrew McCutchen, Carlos Santana, and a lot of these veterans do things. But Ke'Bryan Hayes has picked things up as of late. The velocity is there. The launch angle is there. He's just getting unlucky hitting it right at guys. You saw Brian Reynolds today have a very good game. I want to see more of that from him. I want to see him be the unquestioned best bat in the lineup right now. That's what he is. That's what I want to see from him every single day, or at least on a consistent basis. You're getting slight offensive output from your catching position with Jason DeLay more often than Austin Hedges, but even Austin Hedges had a good game today. The Pirates just need to find consistency. Where have they found consistency already? They found consistency with starting pitching. They found consistency with the bullpen. They found some consistency with some of these veteran players that you already know what you're getting from these guys like Santana, McCutchen, Reynolds, and some of the other guys that they have. They have to get contributions from some of these other guys. And that was the biggest thing that led to their win today. Again, the box score shows all for the most part. You got contributions from Connor Joe. You got contributions from Rodolfo Castro. You got contributions from G1 Bay. Even Chris Owings had a hit today. Austin Hedges had 3 RBIs. Getting those contributions is the kind of thing that the Pittsburgh Pirates are going to have to do more often than not to win baseball games, just because of how they are built as a team. They are built to win as a team. There's not really a guy who's going to take over offensively in this lineup outside of Brian Reynolds. Maybe Andrew McCutchen every once in a while. Maybe Santana once in every blue moon, or Jack Sawinski when he decides to put two over the fence in one game. But again, Brian Reynolds is your consistent, steady force in the lineup. Find contributions from everybody. The pitching is there. We know that. The bullpen is there. We know that. The defense is lacking, but it's getting better. We know that. The offense just has to pick things up. And they did it today with scoring runners in scoring position. It was nice to see. The team needed it. The fans needed it. The management team, the coaching staff needed to see it. But at some point, it's nice to do it once. But good baseball teams do it multiple times in a series, sometimes, to win a series. And that is something the Pirates are going to have to do moving forward. They are going to have to find consistency in the offense. They are going to have to get contributions from the likes of Castro, Marcano, Ji-Hwan Bae, Chris Owings, their catchers, Key Brian Hayes. Everybody's got to step up for this offense to get back to consistency. And today was a stepping stone to doing that. And I think moving forward, things are a little bit brighter than they were about a week ago. Guys, thank you so much for tuning into the Locked On Pirates podcast here today on Wednesday, May 17th. You guys are the best ever. We just passed 1,000 subscribers on YouTube, so make sure if you're not subscribed to go subscribe on YouTube or Spotify, Odyssey, Google Play, or Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts. On tomorrow's show, we'll have Craig on the show. On Friday, we'll be previewing the weekend series against the Arizona Diamondbacks. Hopefully some of you guys get to go to that awesome Marvel drone show. But guys, follow me on Twitter at MVP_Ethan or at Locked On Pirates for all of your news, analysis, opinions, and game recaps of the Pittsburgh Pirates throughout the 2023 season. My name is Ethan Smith, your host of the Locked On Pirates podcast here on the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team, your Pittsburgh Pirates every day, and I will see you on the flip side.